Hey guys, so today I want to show the Ultratech. I want to do a couple experiments on it. I want to show it running clean right now with zero blade play. I want to add some debris on the inside and see if it'll still work, see if I can clean it out easily. After that, I want to try and adjust this so that way it locks up more similarly to the previous gen where it doesn't have the zero blade play. See if there's any difference with the reliability, with the lockout, if we have to worry about it plugging up and not deploying with that mechanism backed off. I think it's possible it could work, but I guess we're gonna see. So right now, I'll show you guys, we've got the knife and we've got good lockup right now. There's no blade play, right? I have this well adjusted right now. Everything's all tuned up and there's no blade play in any direction. So this is solid, it's been good and reliable. And I've had it tuned this way for a little while. So hasn't worn in from what I can tell. I'm working on designing a test rig so that way I can have this thing actuate over and over and over again and see what the wear looks like over time. So now that we've got, you know, my baseline of the knife is tuned, the knife is clean, everything's oiled, I want to add some debris to it and we're gonna see what the deal is, see if we can get it to fail and go from there. Okay, so we've gone ahead. I saw Ray's video tuning the Ultratech, so I got some joint compound here, and we're just gonna go ahead, scoop up a little of this, and put it right inside the front of the knife. So we're gonna take that, get it jammed down in. All right. So trying to get a good amount in there. All right, so I think that's good. Now we're gonna see how we do. So we got a failure, which is what you'd expect, right? So see if we can work it out a little bit. Just trying to get this to lock back. All right, so I got it locked back and we're failing again, all right? So that's a failure right there. Now, what you would want to do is take some compressed air and blow that out. So I'm going to give it a couple seconds, try and blow it out with some compressed air, and we'll see what we can do. All right, so my update, I have put a bunch of compressed air through, and I get a good lockout now. But then when I go to retract, right, I pull the button all the way back, and I'm getting nothing. So every once in a while, it'll fail like that. So even going to reset it. So got it all reset now, tapped back. We get a good lockout, but then trying to pull it back, I probably got a bunch of junk stuck in the lock gate, the back lock gate, and it's not, or the front rather, and it's not disengaging that, as far as I can tell. So it does lock out, you know, we still, oh, actually, it's not quite a full lockout. So that there's definitely some junk in the locking gate, because you can see, it looks locked out, right? And I have tension on the button, but it fails right away when you put any sort of tension on it. So there's definitely some junk on the inside. So I've blown this out with compressed air. There's definitely a whole lot that I could do as far as running water through it like Ray does in his demonstration video, take it apart and oil it and everything. But what I want to do is do a comparison and see if moving that stop pin to a backed off position a little bit, if that fixes our issue, even at the expense of having some blade play. So that way, if you like the design of this, but you don't necessarily believe in the ZBP or ZBT system, you can run it backed off. And I wanna take a loop to it, see if there's any significant wear on the internals, where that stop pin hits, and then we'll go from there. So now I am gonna take this apart, and we're gonna tune the knife, so that way it's got a little bit of blade play. We'll clean it out first, I guess, but other than that, that's what we'll be doing. So already got the tension off. We're gonna go ahead. I guess I will clean up my little mess here. That way we're not getting drywall compound on everything. So same thing as normal, just go ahead and disassemble. And then the only other thing I could think that I would want to do is give a baseline versus the previous generation Ultratechs. I actually don't have any that aren't kind of heavily modified right now. So, you know, I've got aftermarket blades on some of them, and I've got some other things on some others. but none of them are kind of an apples to apples comparison that I would want to do. So it wouldn't really be fair to use non-factory parts as a comparison. The button on mine, I'm not super concerned about. The only thing that would affect is a little tiny bit of the spring tension, if I haven't got it exactly lined up, right? All right, so we got the cover off. We're looking at everything. We're all nice and dusty inside, right? And then I want to look at this front locking gate. So we'll see if we can get my loop out, right? And you can see there's a little junk in the bottom of there. It's probably just enough to cause issues, right? There's just a little tiny bit, which, I mean, it's just how this kind of mechanism works. And you can see down on the bottom, right, I've got some compound that's like gummed up in there, and then in the stop pin track, or whatever you want to call that. But it looks like we've got a good amount of resistance right here too. So I'm definitely feeling that. So what we're gonna do is kind of wipe everything down after we get it all disassembled. So I'm gonna take the pocket clip off. All right, so we got that, wonderful. Now I've got my little flat blade, and we're locked back. So we're gonna go ahead and unscrew the set screw. Fantastic. Now not lose it this time. And we're still locked back, so we're gonna want the T20, which fits in here. And we're gonna back this all the way out. And slide the blade all the way out. All right, so we've got everything all disassembled. What I'm gonna do now is give everything a nice wipe down. We're gonna retune the knife so that way it has some blade play, and then we're just gonna run the same test over again and see how it goes. All right, so we got everything all cleaned up, got the drywall dust off everything. You can see the internals are pretty clean. I haven't gotten it completely perfect, only because I'm gonna be throwing more drywall dust in. I think one of the things I wanna specifically look at, if I can get the fluorescence to not cause an issue. I don't think I will. But you can see this little, if I can get it to focus, little shiny spot right there. So what happens is this stop pin is sliding forward, and then it jams over to the side when it hits that, which kind of locks everything off to the side. So the area I'm expecting to see any additional damage by loosening this and running it improperly is going to be, we're slamming into this probably a little harder than we should be because it's not slowing down, and I'd expect to see some wear to that area in the chassis. Otherwise, you know, everything is going to work basically the same. This lock gate is going to open fully instead of like the 75 to 80% that they recommend it locking up. But otherwise, everything should function the same. So what we're going to do is drop the blade back in and make sure everything's kind of smooth, which looks like we are. And then drop the stop pin back in. And now that's all the way in. We're gonna back it out a half a turn. And what I wanna do is just adjust this so it's a little snug and still locks fully out. So I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth on this until I get it kind of in the perfect position where there's no blade play, or there's still a little bit of blade play. So that way, we're not running it totally loose. We're just running it a little bit looser than what it should be. So that right there seems pretty good. I can pull it right out and it locks up, which you wouldn't want if you're trying to tune the blade play totally out. So I can still feel, and you might be able to see here, that we're wobbling a little in every direction. So I think that's pretty good, and we'll see how it does. My theory here is that's going to help it, and it's still going to lock out, and there's going to be room for things to move there. But honestly, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's hard to say until we actually give it a shot. Now I'm just trying to get this set screw in the right position and not drop it again. All right, I think I've got it started. We're not cross-threaded or anything. Now, we just want to make sure that we're indexed, because we want that set screw all the way in, right? We don't want this kind of floating around. Feels pretty good to me, feels solid, so we're just going to go ahead and tighten down on it and make sure that we've got it in the right position, which seems like we're good. So that's good. I did take apart the spring carriage and the leads, or the spring legs on there, so that way we're giving it a fair shake. I've got the wrong, feels a little, there it is, yeah. So, we gotta move this up a little bit so that way it can actually actuate, because otherwise you don't have room for it to slide. All right, so we've got that. Everything's good. We're gonna drop the button in, right? So that's in position. And then we're gonna drop the top cover on, which is good. So I do have this with no lubrication on it right now, which definitely would not be recommended. But this is just a test, you know, this isn't the way I'm recommending you run your knife. After I finish this, I'm gonna deep clean everything. I'll throw the parts in an ultrasonic cleaner, and we'll get everything nice and clean, so that way it's in good shape and recommended, and oil the recommended oil points. Right now I'm just curious how it's going to run with the, I guess, zero blade play system disabled. I don't know. Oh, good. That was not what I wanted to happen. Well, you get to see everything live here, you know? All right, so we got the button back in. Looks like I didn't fully seat the top cover before starting to tighten stuff down. So go figure. So maybe do the little screws first, so that way you know everything's adequately tightened down, instead of doing the big screws where there's still a whole bunch of room to play. So we're almost done with my reassembly here. And then I guess for what it's worth, I spent a good amount of time before blowing everything with compressed air when I dumped the joint compound in, just trying to blow everything out. So over and over and over again, nothing was coming out. Still couldn't get the knife to reliably lock out. So I am curious if we have a similar thing happen here. And I can show you that the zero blade play system is tuned out, because we should be able to lock out. Maybe not. There we go. So now we're locked out. Although, still not working. There we go. Maybe. Yeah, that's pretty rough. So, honestly, I'm not sure what that pulling back issue is. I might just need to deep clean this and try again before anything, because I want to get this a fair shake, you know? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video. I am going to disassemble, I'm going to clean, I'm going to get this working reliably before I go and dump a bunch of dust in it again, so that way I'm giving it a fair shake. Because right now, it's, you can see I'm pulled all the way back here and nothing's happening. So we're going to tune that and we're going to see what happens. So I will be back. This will be in the same look as it is right now, but I'll have everything tuned up and everything should be good to go, instead of the non-reliable pullback and retraction that I have right now. All right, so I do have it working right now. I did want to share this with you guys before I fully reassemble everything. what looked like was happening is I was pulling it all the way back here, and I jammed in a bunch of the drywall compound where this spring carrier slider needs to go. And there was probably like, 10,000s worth of just junk in there, and that was causing the failure. So kind of interesting. I don't know if I've seen one fail like that before, but I did clean that out. I put it back together and it was working. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought it was interesting. So if you're having issues with deployment and lockout and retraction specifically like that, could be worth looking into if you have like any dirt or grime or dust compounded in that area, because mine was all compacted in there, and that's what was actually causing the issue. So we're good to go now. I'm gonna go ahead and finish reassembling this, and then we're gonna start back up. All right, so we're back and running again. You can see. We're fully functional, so everything's working good now. Everything's sliding nice and even, and then you can hear, maybe, hopefully see a little bit that we do have blade play. So I can wobble it up and down, side to side, in and out, not so much. I think mostly because of the ramp and the way that ramp works. So I don't have quite the same in and out. So honestly, after seeing that, I think I'm going to put more dust in here, and I think it's going to fail exactly the same. I don't think there's going to be really any difference, because I think that freedom in and out and allowing the blade to extend beyond the lock gate and then kind of push back into it, because the way these typically work is they fling out 50 thou, 80 thou beyond where it's supposed to be, and then it kind of springs back. It gets sucked by the springs up against that lock gate. So I have a feeling what's going to happen is I'm going to put the dust in there. It's going to cause the same kind of failure either in this area or in the stop pin area, and we're not going to be able to blow it out, and it's going to still fail dirty in the same position with some blade play allowance in there. So we're going to see. Retract it now and take my handy dandy dust bowl, and we're going to dump some more dust in. So I didn't count how much I did last time, but I just want to make sure that we're adequately getting a good amount in here. So that should be plenty. Bang it in and do a little bit more. All right, so I think that's plenty. It's a lot of dust, and we've got a failure, which you'd kind of expect. So we're gonna go ahead and try and shake it out a little bit. Now I got it to lock back basically right away that time. That was pretty difficult. It could just be a luck thing, yeah. So, still failing. I'm shaking it and just locking it back, and we're seeing what's happening, so. Still failing here. No. Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, seeing it fail right now. I'm trying to clear this out a little bit. Oh, maybe. So that was close. All right, we're getting close. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and blow this out with compressed air, and we're gonna see if that's got any effect, if we're able to fix it. All right, so I gave it a little compressed air, less than I had on the previous one, and we're not perfect. We still got pretty gummy action, it feels like, in the spring, which means there's likely a lot of dust in that slider track, but we are kind of functional here. So it is locking out when I can adequately push the slider forward, and this does fail still though. So what's happening is it's not fully locking out, it seems like, at least. So there's probably some drywall compound in the same area that's causing it to inadequately lock. That actually is seemingly good. So I'm not able to press that back in now. So that seems to work. Honestly, I might be able to back out the mechanism a little bit more and get it to more reliably function, because right now it's just to the point where it's got some blade play. Probably need to go like 2 or 3 more notches on the wheel to knock out all the blade play. But if you loosen it up 1 or 2 more, I have a feeling that this would probably still function as well as a typical Ultratech would when it's dirty. So, and take the conclusions for what you will. Not exactly a scientific test, but you guys could see that we weren't able to lock out whatsoever before when I was using the ZBP or ZBT system as intended. And now it's kind of functional, you know? It's not perfect, but it is working, and it fully retracts when it likes to, you know? We still have junk in the mechanism, so I think it's not really gonna be truly reliable again until it gets taken apart and cleaned, but it is functional right now, and I can fling it out like that if I need the knife in a pinch, and it works. So what I'm interested to see now is if we've got any excess kind of additional wear on that little stop pen area where it interfaces with. So I'm gonna take it apart, we're gonna see, because I'm curious to see if it's hitting any harder or if there's any significant wear to that area. I'm not really sure if there's gonna be or not, but I'll take it apart and we will see. Okay, so we've got everything disassembled now. Now, I'll have to review the footage to kind of see what this looked like before, but I do seem to have a little bit more of a shiny spot right here up top. I'm not sure if that was there before or if that's newly developed with what I just did. And then similarly, looking at this lockup cone, you can see, hopefully if I can get it to focus, you can see the 2 distinct marks that are on the cone, right? Because we have the main area where I've tuned it for 0 blade play, and then we have a different area that's already kind of wearing, showing a shiny spot on there from the test I just did with it in the quote unquote kind of wrong position, right? Because that's not how these knives are designed to be tuned. So what I want to do now is run it a little bit looser. I want to see if the reliability is any different. So I'm going to give this a nice thorough cleaning, and we are going to assemble it again, add some more dust, and see how it goes. All right, so everything's cleaned up pretty good. Didn't get everything immaculate, but everything's in decent shape, kind of within reason. Don't feel like there's any need to go nuts, seeing as I'm pouring more dust in almost immediately after reassembling. So learning my lessons a little bit. I'm going to install the set screw before, just because I find that a little bit easier, and then put this in the back position. So locked back, we're going to drop in this cone. So I have wiped off the main surface for that. So we're going to go ahead here and tighten her up. So now what I want to do is back that out. So now I've got a good amount of kind of in and out blade play. So this is, I would say, typical for what the older Ultratechs were like, you know? So I'd say that's pretty close to where they used to be. I'm gonna give it a little bit more just because I don't want it flying full force into there. I don't want to completely wreck the chassis of the knife. But I'd say that in and out blade play, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is fairly close to what the older Ultratechs are like. So we're gonna see, you know, I'm gonna tighten it down in this position. Gotta say, having a camera right in front of you where you would normally hold things, kind of a pain in the ass. So makes everything a little bit more difficult. Yeah, it's not quite tightened down there, is it? Because I'm trying to keep everything at least somewhat visible for you guys. that's still got a lot of movement. That's interesting. Fascinating. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. That is pretty strange. So we're still locking out, but I don't seem to be able to tighten this set screw adequately to lock up that cone. I wonder if I damaged something. Oh, this looks good. So you can see the set screw still looks basically normal. Why don't we back out this locking cone? And this all looks good too. I mean, none of these teeth look stripped or anything. They all look pretty normal. Interesting. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I now need to, alright, we're gonna back it out a little bit more. So that's back to like that typical blade play that I was talking about before. Hopefully I can get this set screw installed this time. Hopefully I didn't like completely wreck the knife. That would be annoying. You know what? I wonder, because the height changes of the disc when you unscrew it. So I might have it in too high of a position for these teeth to actually lock it up on the set screw. That could be a real possibility. Nope. Actually, yeah, no, I think that's exactly what's happening. I think because this locking cone is basically a full turn further, higher than it's supposed to be. I think it's high enough that this isn't adequately, the teeth aren't adequately engaged on this. Because doesn't seem like I'm in between a tooth or anything there, and I have that set screw completely set all the way in, So that's kind of interesting. You can't actually have it out like that. So there's still a lot of blade play here, but it doesn't look like you can actually tune it so that it runs like a previous Ultratech. So I may have been wrong in the first place with this premise that I'd be able to do that, is what it looks like. So you can still run it like that, but there is, the set screw has nothing to push up against. Well, not really, because this guy is still entirely kind of free floating and loose, which we don't want. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, the set screw is tight. This guy probably isn't going to go anywhere. I guess we'll see, I don't think I have a Sharpie handy in the garage right now. I'd like to give it a mark and see if that spins at all, but I want to run it like this. I want to see, and then we can kind of call it on this video, but I am really curious about kind of the maximum position that you can lock that out. But I think what's happening is when I unscrew it, it kind of pulls up in this direction. So the teeth, or like the little notches that set screw sits into, are now that much higher. So if it's a full turn out, the thread pitch on that guy is, I think it was about 58 threads per inch, something like that. So, I mean, you do the math on that. 1 over 58 is however many thousandths of an inch, 17 thousandths of an inch, which is significant when you're talking about a 256 screw that's used as a set screw with a little ball face. So I forget what the major diameter on the 256 screws are, but it's not that big, The two would be what? probably like 60 thou, something like that. So you're moving up a third of the diameter of the screw itself. So I mean, it's not insignificant, and I bet it's not able to interface when you've got it that high up, which isn't something I had thought about. So kind of interesting, and yeah, I guess that could leave this idea of kind of tuning it so you have blade play dead in the water. So kind of interesting, and apparently I didn't learn my lesson from last time assembling and having the button fall out, because here I am sticking the pocket clip in again and doing the big screws on bottom far away from the button. So I've got the memory of a fruit fly, and you know, what can you do? So almost done getting this guy assembled. Ew. There we go. Alrighty. So, got all the screws. Everything's good. Alright, now everything's tight, so hopefully, there we go. So, alright, so that seems good, and then you can see I've got that little bit of blade play in and out like this. I have side to side and I have up and down, which is what we would expect. I didn't tune the knife kind of properly in the first place. So now, we're gonna go ahead, fill it with dust again, and we're gonna see what happens. So I expect this to be cleaned out, and I expect it to run based off this being even looser than the previous test, but it's really tough to say, and not entirely predictable. So I just got a whole bunch of dust inside there. So we almost got all the way out. So now, I can't pull it to lock it out, which is concerning, you know, not ideal. So I think I got the lock gate filthy in there. So we're nice and dirty. I can't get it to deploy right now, so I'm gonna bring it over, blow it out with some compressed air. Same that I've done for the other two kind of tuning methods, and we will see where that ends us up. All right, lo and behold, I think we're fully functional. It feels horrible, you know, it feels all gritty and sticky and nasty because there's all kinds of drywall compound on the inside, but this works mostly, you know, except for when I tell you it works and try and show you. But it seems to be functional, you know. At least, you know, whatever that is, 3 out of 5 times or something. So 2 out of 3, progressively getting worse. But this tuning does seem to be working, you know. I don't know. We'll see. So what I want to do is disassemble this. I want to see what the inside looks like now. If I'm really wrecking the chassis and this is causing damage to the knife, wouldn't be recommended. Probably wouldn't recommend it anyway. If you want a knife for doing dirty, nasty stuff in, get a folder. I wouldn't use an OTF for something like that. It's just not the right tool for the job. But I'm curious to see what these can hold up to and what the deal is. So I'm gonna disassemble it. I want to see what the inside looks like, see what the wear points look like, and then we can call it a day. All right, so we got her all disassembled now, so you can see. As far as wear spots, you can see that same shiny spot. Doesn't really look any worse to me, but it's kind of hard to say for certain. I'm not noticing anything kind of significant as far as wear goes, but that might be something that manifests over time, you know? Everything's about as dirty as it was in the previous disassemblies. So I'm gonna go ahead and say if you want to try and tune the blade play like that, so that way you've got significantly more, It's something you can do, and probably wouldn't recommend it, but you definitely can if you're looking for it to be kind of more reliable in really filthy situations. I would say just watch out and make sure that you're engaging these little notches. I don't have my calipers out here right now, but you can see exactly how thin that is. You know, these the screws that they're using there like that, and then the set screw itself. And you can see the little locking head on there, the little ball end that kind of sits in there when that indexes. You know, if this is up higher, it's not going to touch at all, because this is coming in and indexing like that, you know. So you move this up a little bit and you've got absolutely no grip on that on the locking cone. Although, as long as you don't lose the parts, I guess it doesn't really matter. Although eventually this theoretically could back out to a point where it's not going to allow movement on the inside, which you wouldn't want. So I guess there you go. You know, technically you can tune the blade play such that you do have blade play, and potentially it's more reliable in dirty situations like that. Again, probably not something I'd recommend if you know you're going to be getting filthy and getting dirty and just generally in a dirty environment. An OTF isn't the right tool. You know, you shouldn't be using one if you know you're going to be in a sandy, dusty, dirty environment anyway. But I guess technically you could, you know. So I think that's it for today. You know, take from that what you will. You can tune it, and it seems to be more reliable in dirty situations. So it's you know, that's the trade-off. Your OTF can be a little more reliable when it's dirty. If you have some blade play, and if you tune the blade play out, there is the potential that it's going to fail if you get some junk on the inside, if you've got the zero blade play active. So there you go. That's the takeaway. Have a good day.